officer, and I'm really excited about this, Mom.
But Rios couldn't risk anything more.
Is that when things soured between the two?
I had like a bad feeling that if he didn't walk away from it, that something would happen.
Jesse's friends told police that he was becoming unhappy with Rios. Jesse may have had many lovers, but he drew the line at going out with married men. And once Jesse suspected Rios was married, friends say he planned to end the relationship.
Jesse had said, I've been having this affair with this police officer. The next time he shows up, I'm going to confront him about whether or not he's married, and I'm going to tell the chief of police.
Could Jesse's alleged threat to out him have pushed Rios to murder? But what about Rios' alibi? Wasn't he having beer with fellow officers after his shift the morning of the murder? The same time Jesse's neighbor heard fighting in Jesse's apartment. According to Special Prosecutor Morley Swingle, there's one problem with the neighbor's story.
He'd been drinking both hard liquor and beer that night. He said, I really can't tell you, what time I heard that noise.
But there are still questions about the timeline. Could roughly 30 minutes have been enough time for Rios to leave the police station, go to Jesse's, argue, kill him, clean up, and then drive home? Investigators time the trip from the police garage to Jesse's apartment. It takes them 2 minutes and 42 seconds. From Jesse's apartment to Rios' house is 7 minutes and 17 seconds. That leaves about 20 minutes for everything else. According to police, the timeline is tight but doable. But did Rios have a knife with a serrated edge like the murder weapon?
You have Rios denying he's ever even carried a knife.
That's correct. But several officers told us, no, that's not true. I've seen him with it.
Finally, a silent witness steps forward. DNA found under one of Jesse's fingernails. The DNA is from two people. Ed, the chef Jesse had sex with 2 days before his murder, and Steven Rios, who said he last saw Jesse 6 days earlier. It's possible that Rios' DNA could have been from that last sexual encounter with Jesse. But then police also found hairs on Jesse's shaved chest. The hairs all have their roots intact, which prosecutors say seem to indicate they were forcibly removed, most likely during some type of struggle. And when they're tested for DNA,
The stat was only 1 in 757.6 trillion people would match, and Steven Rios matched.
prosecutor Morley Swingle's theory is that Rios stopped by Jesse's after work to have sex.
And things went from bad to worse as Jesse ultimately is threatening him. He's going to go to the chief of police. Rios sees his job going down the drain. He sees his marriage going down the drain. And he pulled his clip knife and chased Jesse.
So Jesse was running for his life.
In my opinion, yes.
What do you believe Steven Rios did to him?
I think Steve assaulted him. I think he literally choked him out. I think that he slit Jesse's throat and killed him.
The blood just poured out to the sides. It wasn't spurting up and getting all over everything. So that would explain why Rios wasn't drenched with blood when he got home.
And that could also explain why no blood traces were discovered in Rios' house.
And the knife has never been found.
No.
On July 1st, 2004, 3 weeks after Jesse Valencia's body was found, Steven Rios is arrested and charged with first-degree murder.
None of us that wear this uniform ever thought that anyone who wears this uniform could be responsible for this terrible crime.
In May 2005, 12 jurors deliver their verdict. Steven Rios is found guilty and convicted of first-degree murder. The former police officer sentenced to life in prison without parole.
I felt overwhelming sense of relief because I knew that 12 people believed the fact that he had murdered my son.
So you are 100% sure the right man is behind bars?
Without a doubt.
3 years later, Rios is granted a new trial because of hearsay testimony in his first trial. 12 new jurors hear the case and also find Rios guilty.
As to count one, we, the jury, find the defendant Stephen Arthur Rios guilty of murder in the second degree.
Libby Sullivan is now the ex-wife of Stephen Rios.
That's actually one we just got this week. Yeah.
She's happily remarried, and yet she still insists her ex-husband is innocent.
Regardless of what he did to me with the affair, the facts just didn't add up to me.
You believe
Other
he's
than
innocent?
I so strongly believe that this was wrong.
Libby was there. She saw me come home.
That voice is Stephen Rios himself. I spoke with him in prison by phone.
She has no reason to lie. She has no reason to stick with me. I know that the truth will come out. I don't know when, but I just know it will.
But you tried to take your life twice, Steve. Why do that if you're innocent and you're willing to fight?
I didn't know how to deal with what I perceived to be my shame.
Then what do you think happened? Who murdered Jesse if it wasn't you?
I don't know. I just know that it was not me.
So here we are. Is there any doubt in your mind as Stephen Rios continues to claim that he is innocent?
No, there's no doubt in my mind. And he knows that he's guilty. He's constantly talking about how he wants to be with his family and that his son's growing up without him, and my son's gone. And my son's not coming back.
Up next, a neighbor's call leads to a shocking discovery.
The most horrific case of child abuse that anyone has ever seen.
I was like, Mom, why did you hit me? And she said, because you stole food from me. I said, I'm hungry.
So how did they all survive? Tell their inspiring story on Where Are They Now?
Delivers fast and free. Members get more. Jealous.
Adilmed by G.
At the state's social welfare department. But what happened to the boys? Angeline Hartman finds out on Where Are They Now?
It's a typical Friday night, and the Parrish family settles down for dinner. It seems perfectly normal. But for 3 of these boys, this wasn't always the case. Just a few years ago, they didn't know where their next meal was coming from.
when other people waste food, that gets under my skin because it's like I was deprived of food and I didn't have no food or nothing like that.
In fact, Michael and his brothers, Trayshawn and Terrell, are lucky to be alive.
It was probably the most horrific case of child abuse that anyone has ever seen.
The boy's story might not have come to light if it weren't for this 911 call on a cold October night in 2003. At the time, he was no 10-year-old. He was actually 19 and weighed less than 50 pounds. The discovery of an emaciated Bruce eventually led police to his 3 brothers. All the boys were living in this home in Collinswood, New Jersey.
Some of the doctors estimated that they would not have lasted, and Bruce in particular, another 4 to 6 weeks.
Michael, only 9 at the time, vividly recalls his struggle to survive.
How did they keep the food away from you?
Like, I remember one time, I had went in there, stole a bagel, and went inside the bathroom. And before I knew it, she was in there hitting me and beating me and all that. So it was like, Mom, why did you hit me? And she said, because you stole food from me. I said, but I'm hungry.
The house became known to the boys and later to the media as the Hell House. There, the boys lived with their adoptive parents, Vanessa and Raymond Jackson, and their large family of biological children, foster kids, and adoptees.
They were treated differently from the biological children, who were very well nourished and in some instances somewhat overweight.
The Jacksons didn't allow the boys to attend school, isolating them from society. They described long days of punishment.
She came to us and she just looked at us. She was like, "You're ugly. I don't even want to look at you. Turn around, face the wall." And then there were certain days where we actually a whole day stood up and had to face the wall.
Prosecutors say one of the boys, faced with
You thought it was normal to eat the wall, to be that hungry and to eat the wall.
When the boys left the Jackson household, 14-year-old Trayshawn weighed 40 pounds, 10-year-old Terrell, 28 pounds, and 9-year-old Michael weighed just 23 pounds, less than a toddler. Once freed, the boys found themselves back in the social service system that failed them in the first place.